Well, Shedavashtach, you're very welcome. This is Telling Tales, and I am Chris. It is the first Saturday of October of spooky season, and so it is one-shot weekend here at Telling Tales, and hopefully we have a treat in store for you with the pastoral, GM-less, collaborative storytelling mechanism that is Wanderhome. I'd just like to talk a little bit about some of the other things we have going on our normal roster of shows. We run weekly, atmospheric, sometimes slightly spooky, sometimes kind of slightly scary, tabletop role-playing games in various systems, and with a large and diverse crew of people. We have on Mondays, we have had a, episodic and omnibusial series of Call of Cthulhu for the last quite some time now, which is coming to a close as of Monday, and will be replaced by something new and exciting, which will be announced soon. On Tuesdays, we still run Blades in the Dark, which is a very interesting, very systemically unusual TTRPG, and is worth tuning into to see how the mechanisms work. It's kind of a dark and gritty, electropunk kind of steampunky aesthetic. It's very fun. On Wednesdays, we have Symbaroum, which is dark fantasy with all kinds of twisting and turning plots and a cast of thousands. But all of those starting at usually 8 p.m. UK time, UTC -1. And that's basically how we do that. Now, of course, today is a special day because it is not only a one-shot weekend, it is the Wanderhome one-shot weekend. And we'll be going for a lovely walk through the beautiful and bucolic land of Haith. Is that the thing? We're still deciding on how to pronounce that, and I know Matt is quite the expert with these slightly older characters and pronunciations, but that's the one I've picked. I'll tell you a little bit about that world, and then we'll introduce the characters. So Haith is a boundless and beautiful place filled with teeming life and soul and friendship. Haith is a land of talking animal folk, and their insect livestock and sometimes even food. The one constant among the people of Haith is that there is a widespread culture of hospitality, and that the people who you meet there are all fundamentally good. There is no real peril here. Haith is a land that is recovering from a war, but that war is in the past, and those who called it are very, very far away, and it will not be the subject of our story. Haith is also a land of rich history and mythology, which is entirely improvised, but roots from perhaps rumors of pre-existing civilizations and pre-existing dragons and creatures of magic. Haith is a magical world, but it is the magic of the small acts of kindness, and the magic of the hedge witch, and the magic of the cairn and the long walk. That is the land we are going to find ourselves in, and I think our next step would be to introduce the characters, the people we'll be playing for this. And I think Wanderhome is essentially GM-less, so I'm actually going to be playing a character, and I will introduce you to my character now, who, if you can read, you'll see at the bottom of my screen there, is Borkins the Possum. Borkins is a thief and a hero. Borkins is not a gentleman, but nor is he a liar. He wears a big scarf and a dapper hat. He is guilty of he claims to be guilty of many crimes, but proudly introduces himself as a thief and a poacher. That is his essential kind of 6 bullet points. I'll introduce our next friend here, which is Jemima the Frog.
Hi, it's Teo the Toad, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, how did I get that wrong?
I think perhaps you've been mixed up.
Probably an earlier draft or something.
Character.
Oh yes, that must be. Apologies, did not want that crossover to start off with.
That was a great crossover. What are you talking about?
Tell us a little bit about your nameless horror. I mean, adorable friend.
Okay, so Tio is his form is a toad. He is eloquent. His care is eloquent, observant, and occasionally overwrought. People assume he's obscure and pretentious, but he's actually quite romantic and a little bit sarcastic. He wears an argyle sweater vest, has ink-stained hands, and he carries a battered tome with him, like a really massive book that's about the same size as him. And it's rope, it's strapped to his back with rope, and gets used for all sorts of things like tables and sledding. And, yeah, it's not just used as a book, but that's his thesis, because he's actually an academic who is studying the migratory patterns of the moths and the news they bring.
Wonderful, thank you. So there's one of our first compatriots for the journey. The second one is a face you're very well aware of. It's my friend and sometimes GM, Matt. Hello, Matt.
Hiya.
He will also be doing dual hat duty as stream manager this afternoon, so we'll be keeping the technical side of things running and keeping a loose eye on chat. But more importantly, Matt will be playing Hermes, who is a caretaker.
Indeed.
Tell us a bit about your friend.
So Hermes is kind of an older gentleman who makes his long journeys in the land of Haith in I suppose, a wheelchair. But in my mind, that's what I think in older days people would refer to as a bath chair, which is a much more, it's it almost looks like a bit of moving furniture, in which he houses. I wouldn't say keeps, because he's their friend as well as their guardian, a number of small, odd, forgotten gods and spirits who make their homes in the sort of drawers and compartments of his chair. He's an expressive and reflective sort, but finds it definitely, shall we say, challenging to be organised and alert. And yeah, he's wandering the world. Maybe he's in search of something, or maybe he found it a long time ago and now he just doesn't know how to stop traveling.
Oh wow, that's very interesting. I look forward to meeting your even smaller friends. I'll take this moment also to point out that the wonderful character art has been lifted straight from the Wanderhome book, which in itself is an absolute work of art. And those illustrations are by Letty Wilson. And now to introduce the final member of our quartet, it's Holly, who is playing Constance the Bear.
Indeed, yes. So my character is a kind of middle-aged, getting later on in life, brown bear, who's previously had her own children, but they're all grown up and gone to live in the next village over. She has thick muddy boots and reading glasses, and she always walks with her sturdy cane. But the main thing about her is she has seemingly endless patience for her tiny little ward, which you can see there, who is a wild cat called Hemp, who she found not too recently. They have been together for a while, but she found them in a nearby wood. And has since been showing them the way, because Hemp doesn't have any other parents to speak of. So Constance has become the foster mum.
This game is putting me in extreme risk of having an adorable related breakdown already, and we're not even technically in it. So a little bit about the conceit of our story and where we start. This is the coach road to Redbranch Fair. We have all heard, or either from tradition or from whispered rumor or from having a good calendar, that there is a decennial or a once per decade festival at a place called Redbranch Hill. And it is a festival of sport and of mirth and of food, and is not to be missed. Redbranch Hill is unfortunately quite a long walk away. So we have decided to form a small party and make that journey. We start off in the town of Stripe Hill It is a coastal town, though not 100% on the beach, which sits just in front of a large rocky promontory, the eponymous Stripe Hill, which has huge geographic stripes of different sedimentary rock layered on it, hence why it's got its name. That's where we'll be setting off from. To tell you a little bit more about the relations of the characters, we're going to use Wanderhome's own tool during their kind of playbook and character creation. So we have like set questions that we ask. So I believe I ask a question to that direction and to the person below me. So I will start with.
Although I have to say, what a great coincidence it is, because you asked to your left and right, and during character creation we set those questions. I think we're literally in the same camera positions we were during that, which is entirely a coincidence.
Yeah, the only difference is me and Skye swapped around. So I think. Yeah, there we go. Right now we are in exactly the right positions. Yeah.
I don't think that's true, because I asked Chris and Skye a question to my left and right. I thought
I have Chris and Skye's a question, so I think you may.
No, so that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Matt's
exactly
slowly decaying memory for the win.
Foiled again in my desire to usefully reorganize the screens once in my wretched career. Anyway, so I think I'll start with my questions here. So my question to Matt: what is something you knew about me that you have no right to know?
That is not the question I have, I'm afraid. I have, why do I call you my only friend?
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. I have something. My format.
Sure. Well, why do I call you my only friend? Because Borkins, you are the only individual I will let push my chair for me when either I or my gods get tired.
That is painfully adorable. I love it. Thank you. And then my question to the person below me, Holly. I remember this one. This is adorable. How did we? Why does your ward look up to me?
So
is that correct, or is that the wrong way around?
That's the other way around. So that's kind of the one that I'm asking you. But they are very similar. So how did we get off on the wrong foot? And I think that's because you are a troubling / bad influence on Hemp, and I think that you're leading them down a path that I don't agree with. You play into Hemp's more raucous nature, which gives me a lot more work to do.
Adorable. Thank you. So I think we'll move across then to Matt, if you want to give us your questions.
Sure, absolutely. I would say I don't think I've noted down the questions I asked other people. So I'm sure they know. So Chris, I asked you a question, I'm sure. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Sorry, I assumed we'd be answering the questions that were asked of us, not the questions I'm confused. But I asked you a question, Chris. So whatever it is, that's the thing that needs answering.
So the one I have written down is the one I kind of misasked you at the beginning. What is something you knew about me that you had no right to know?
Yes, that is a caretaker question, yes.
And the answer to that is that you are well aware that I fought in the rebellion and may have committed some crimes at that stage.
And no one else knows that. And then I believe I asked of Skye, what do you know about the world that I don't? Is that correct? Oh, you're on mute, Skye, sorry.
Yeah, and my answer was that God is a matter of perspective.
Very good. Who's next, Skye? Going around all clockwise.
Yeah, next. Right. I, like Matt, didn't write down what questions I was asking other people. I just wrote down what I was asked. So if people can remember what I asked.
I do. I do know what you asked me. You asked me what what do you have to keep explaining to me about the world? Which I'm assuming the you and me is the sum. But anyway, you have to keep explaining to me that the war is over.
Okay.
I don't mean I'm some kind of old bigot or something. I mean,
Got it.
I've got a bit of a mind like a sieve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to me, you asked me what my favourite part of your writing is. And my answer is that while reserved and often quiet in life, your writing is eloquent and helps explain complicated ideas with ease. Also, you helped Hemp learn to write, which, while it was a messy affair, I did appreciate.
Yep. It was probably a messy affair because I taught him to write with his fingers, without.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is you write with your hands,
or with the knife?
Yes, yeah. It's, either way, it's helpful, but takes cleaning up. Okay, then it's just me. So I believe that I asked Skye what I was like before I found my ward.
Yeah, and I would say that you were a workaholic and you had a tyrannical boss.
Okay, and then Chris, we've semi-answered this, but why does my ward look up to you, and why does that bother me?
So I like to think that your ward looks up to me because I am a dashing cardsman and have lots of little kind of tricks and illusions that I can do with the deck of cards, and just part of my kind of swashbuckling nature and the mystery of the vagabond, I suppose. But there we go. So that establishes just a little bit of how we're linked. We've been probably good friends around Stripe Hill for a while, but one day I arrived into our normal drinking hole with the map that was going to take us towards the Redbranch and the fair, and described it to you all and got your buy-in for us to leave. So we're going to be setting out now then. So does anyone want to describe their last minute preparations? I think for my part, I will have be traveling very light with like a little bag and a cane and my signature big hat and scarf. Not too much different from every day, and you can't help but shake the suspicion that I'm packing light because I intend to maybe scrump some of the goods I need to survive along the way.
I think I'm frantically looking for Hemp's spare travelling cloak, which has gone missing. So I'm currently bruising around in drawers trying to find it.
I think Tio is wrestling with his huge thesis, his tome that he keeps strapped to his back, because he's put loads of loose sheets of paper in and it won't quite shut anymore. So he's just standing on top of it with a rope trying to pull it shut.
And I think Hermes is going to be sort of frankly but slightly vaguely rummaging around in all the drawers and compartments on his chair and trying to enlist the help of certainly the three most referred to gods and individuals who dwell in them, Furtive, ER, and Dulcet, to help him arrange lots and lots of loose papers covered in sketches and notes. But if past experience is anything to go by, Hermes will give up before the job is even remotely complete.
So I think brandishing the map, I will address the group, I suppose, and go, well, we can't wait any longer. The morning's getting on. Shall we make for the hills?
Well, don't just say it. Go on.
Constance, Theo, are you both ready to set out?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. I'm not going to be getting this thing any more closed. Yes, let's just go.
Plenty of time to close the book on the open road. It is a simple road to leave Stripe Hill. It is only some miles down the road before we take our branch onto the old coach road. Obviously, Redbranch, from what I've heard, is not a town. It's just a hill, which is most interesting. It's like the whole town gets built for the festival. I'm very excited.
I've been there once, but it was in my past life when I was a tadpole.
Oh, did you? Was it for the festival? Did you enjoy it?
I only saw it through the glass of a vial that my mentor carried me in. I don't remember much.
Well, hopefully we will make some good memories. Borkin starts kind of moving off towards like it's the main road out of Stripe Hill, and there's a number of other kind of comings and goings. There's a big cart pulling in, and there's another group making to leave as well.
As soon as you start moving towards the main roads, Hemp, like a dog that always wants to be at the front of the pack, is just going to zoom off in front of us. And I'm going to try and call them back. But they're going to do the thing that dogs do, where they like run ahead and then like wait for you to catch up a little bit and then keep going. Yeah, so they're excited to be off.
What a good kid. So we'll make it's an uphill journey on the way out of Stripe Hill because we are moving inland, and the topology is very gentle. There's some kind of something that would be described as a mountain if one grew up in a country without mountains, but we are not going up those. We're going near them. We pass by a little lake, and it's a very pleasant morning all around. It's still pretty early, so while we are passing by houses, it seems that work has not really started. It being till soil, the first kind of major month of work in the cycle that is in Haith. Generally, farmers will be starting to work at this time, and there'll be labourers in the fields. But for now, it is a very quiet morning. A silence that is broken after we have left the kind of busier tracts of the main road by someone calling out for help on the road ahead.
Okay. We should be careful of this. It could be a soldier's ambush.
I'm sure it's not. And I'm just going to like wander over and see what I can do.
Hermes, the war is over. There are no more soldiers. I have not been alive as long as the war has been finished. How many times must I say this?
Well, Dulcet, is he right? And a small sort of flickery and glittery shape that you can't can't quite perceive what shape is underneath it flicks out from one of the drawers, does a little twirl in the air and makes a kind of noise and dives back in. Oh, fine.
See?
Fine.
I'm always right.
I'm focusing on important things, Tio.
I think we'd better go on ahead. It might be something interesting.
So on the road ahead, you find a large cart that is missing some things that a cart needs. One wheel and anything to pull the cart. Near the wheel is a stoat who seems quite flustered and has spotted you from a distance away and is waving you and going, please, I need some assistance. Oh my goodness, if it goes any more wrong, the whole weekend will be ruined, please.
Okay, yeah, I'll kind of bustle up. I'll tell Hemp to like stick by Tio. Just keep out of the way for now while I work out what's going on.
Come here, young tadpole. Come. Stand. Be still. Hold this. I give him my tome, so he's weighed down.
Yeah, it's like
Perfect. It's got Mjolnir's
staggering backwards and forwards.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just about see like the ears behind the book. Yeah, so I'll go up to this stoat and what's happened? You're missing a wheel? What on earth has happened?
It's more than a wheel. I caught a rock in the road, and the damn thing sheared off, and so too did my beetle. It's gone. It must be in the fields nearby. Would you please help me try and round it up? I saw it disappear off to that meadow. It must be close. I must try and make good this shipment.
I must say, don't worry. I am somewhat of an expert on flying insects. I could lure it back here in a moment, if only the others would find the wheel. I'm not much good when it comes to technology.
The wheel danced off, and it's somewhere in that thicket. He points towards a rather nasty-looking, thorny space, which seems to have been recently disturbed right enough. But there's no wheel immediately visible. So you have a wheel and a field.
Okay. I'm probably going to head towards the thicket and start like trying to tear some branches out of the way to see if I can see the remnants of a wheel anywhere.
Hermes is going to kind of like move up behind you and start mainly giving you moral support via enthusiastic coring of encouragement, sort of. That's it, Mistress Bear. Have at it. Excoriate it. Expulpate it. Make it tremulous and quadratic.
Tia's going to quickly like get his big tome and start rifling through it, and get to the page that he's written. He doesn't really do beetles. He does moths, but he does something. He knows a bit about beetles, and so he's reading about them, and he sees they like a certain type of like pheromones, basically, and he's like, hang on, I might have that particular vial in here, and he just like starts rummaging around in his pockets.
Yep, that sounds like a solution. You, Constance, do not have to dig far to find the wheel, which is still more or less in one piece. It is it's not a spoke design. It's a solid kind of plated piece of wood. It's you think that you could have gotten it out as a quite a strong lady, can get it out of the thicket unattended.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll try and drag it out and like roll it up the hill, like the edge of the ditch that it's landed in, and then see how on earth I'd go about getting it attached back to the cart. Because we'll probably need to prop it up somehow.
As you kind of haul it out of that thicket and start it up the hill, another one of the small gods from Hermes' chair kind of flitters out with a sort of a burst of colour and starts moving around you. And you definitely are more familiar maybe with this one than the others, because ER actually talks to people who aren't Hermes, unlike the others. And ER, as usual, is kind of like going around you going, oh, do be careful, don't get your paws. Those thorns, they look terribly, terribly sharp. And this hill is awfully steep. Please just do take care of yourself.
Yes, ER, I'm looking after things. It's all right. Now, how are we going to attach this back onto the cart? Right pickle.
So Borkins comes over there and kind of gives you a hand getting the wheel kind of rolled up towards the back towards the driver. On his way, he mentions the gentleman's name is Fada. It's very peculiar and quite dramatic. But you eventually get it back, and Fada takes a look at it and goes, "Oh, this will not do. This will not do. I'm just going to need a wheelwright to set this right. I will have to walk back to town." He kind of calls out, "Is there any sign of my beetle?"
Okay, so Tio has been like standing in the middle of the road with like a vial, which he's sort of and then sort of wafting it in the air, like quite theatrically, because he's showing off a bit. He's like, this is my thing, right? And I think the beetle it arrives, and it arrives somewhat at speed and somewhat passionately. It's quite excited by this prospect.
Oh,
good lord! Artillery! Take cover!
well,
Tio just sees the beetle and turns and starts just like hecking it down the road as fast as possible, vial in the hand, like brainless idiot. Just like, it's after me! It's coming after me! Somebody stop it!
Borkins calls out, of course it's after you! You said you had the stuff which attracts it! Cork up the bottle, you fool!
Dio just sort of goes, he just like comically skids to a stop and goes, oh, I think I have it. Somewhere. Wait, Hemp, come here. You have the cork, Hemp. Hurry.
Hemp has, while all this has been going on, has just been like clambering up the side of the cart, and is now like wedged in amongst all of the belongings that are in the back of the cart, and just like puts up a tiny paw holding a large cork that isn't actually that big. It's only about that big, but in their hands it's like just hold it up, and then like clambers down the side, but like trips and just like flops onto the ground, but then immediately just like gets up and then jogs over.
I think at this point it might be a little bit too late, and I think Theo might be getting trodden on by a beetle, because he stopped, because he was like, oh, I better, and he's now back flat on the road with a rather eager beetle just like on top of him, trying to get at the jar, just like and he's like trying to keep it away from it. Like,
as soon as I see this, can I? So does the beetle have like reins or anything? I'd imagine.
Yeah, he's definitely still harnessed.
Yeah, cool. So I'll try
harnessed.
and grab the harness and just like try and calm it down a little bit, while we get this pheromone bottle corked up.
Yeah, Borkins connects the dots and relieves the small child of the cork and puts a stop in the bottle, which seems to strangely immediately stop the beetle from being quite so unkempt. And it goes back.
Still thoroughly unhelpful, has kind of moved round to the side of the beetle and is sort of patting at it with one kind of feathered appendage, going, what a thoroughly heptabulous specimen.
I think that's fancy talk for it being a good bean.
Heptabulous. I'd better put that in my book. One moment, please. And Theo starts rifling through the book and gets out a pot of ink and fingerprints heptabulous into his thesis.
Fada comes across in fits of something. You can't tell if it's delight or further fury, definitely having a good old dramatic moment, and goes, thank you. Oh, at least that is one of my two terrible mishaps solved for today. Come here, Betsy, let me get you reattached. Goodness only knows. Well, thank you all very much for that half. Unless one of you happens to be a wheelwright, I assume I'm going to need to walk toward town. At least this happened on the outskirts of Stripe Hill and not miles away.
Yes, no, it shouldn't be a long walk, but I would recommend that you take Betsy with you, as I think trying to tie her up out here, she's probably just going to tear herself free and go off into that meadow again.
So on a side note, because we should talk a little bit about the system. Wanderhome is very system light, but let's have a quick chat about the system. You have tokens, which there are a lot of little suggestions on when you get them and when you give them or pay them to do certain objects. And these are all laid out in the various playbooks. But everyone has a different token. The tokens I'm going to be using are tiny, adorable friends. Here's the first one. Which I am giving myself because Oh my goodness! Oh yes, of course. So we're pushing the group forward from this situation, and that's why I am taking. No, there was a bet. No, sorry, hang on. Let me look at the rules and remind myself.
Is does everyone have different things for getting and spending tokens?
No, because there's one set that's global for anyone acting, and then there's
Right.
specific sets that are due to the place and some other situations where you can receive and spend tokens. I am taking a token because, I spoke my true feelings on the subject regarding Fada being a little bit a very strange fellow, and he doesn't seem all that strange. In fairness, he's just dramatic and enthusiastic. That is the reason why I'm taking my first tiny friend.
I have a feeling that Tio definitely inconvenienced himself trying to get that beetle back, even though it was down to his own stupidity.
And what are you going to be using for tokens, Skye?
I have pecan nuts, which I've just dropped. But yeah.
Amazing. So you get your first pecan nut. So basically, to summarize this briefly, you get a token whenever you kind of interact with the story or inconvenience yourself for the sake of the story, and you spend this token to kind of affect the story to some degree or another. But it's very, very light touch. So I just thought I'd bring that in to show the first time I have claimed a token. So I think Borkins is going to round everyone up at this stage and go, well, we've come this far. It's a good 40 minutes walk back to town. I'd rather push on.
Hermes is already moving down the road. Three of the small gods in his chair, kind of like driving the things forward with little sprays of sparks and sort of glittery, some kind of godly magic. It's probably unimportant.
I think Tio is, because he was writing in his book, he's like, wait, the ink, it hasn't dried, wait. And I imagine everyone else is probably going to be leaving anyway, but...
I think from past experience, it's okay for Borkins to spread out the group a bit in the case of Tio, otherwise we'll be waiting all day.
I think in this case, Tio is going to be... He does a thing when the ink hasn't quite dried, where he just leaves it open and just like attaches a rope around it and drags it on the ground, like in the sun, just behind him, just walking. He's not very careful with his thesis. This is his life's work, and not just his life's work, but his mentor's life's work as well. There's like generations of work here.
The Viva for this is going to be an absolute nightmare. I can already tell. So we push on toward the unknown. Well, toward the known, because we still have the map. Borkins kind of it takes another kind of 40 or 50 minutes. We've left behind the sea air as a memory, and the kind of, it's still very cold, it being the start of till soil, but it's less cold than it was a fortnight ago. And that was less cold than it was a fortnight before that. So there's definitely the feeling that the season is slacking off a bit. But some distance down the road there is the first of the major turnings, which kind of forks away, kind of the main road leading down into a valley, and this road continuing along the edge of the valley. So not uphill, but still kind of moving along. It is a much less well-kept road, and a little bit... not dilapidated, but you can tell this road has not in any way, shape, or form main anymore. Borkins leads you confidently down this road and kind of indicates on the map where it is. You're in a very nice wooded area now. It's kind of very, very pretty. There's still no leaves on the trees, but the non-deciduous and the evergreens are kind of creating a very kind of post-Christmas air to the place. He carries on some distance, kind of shakes the map and goes, oof, Constance, can you give me your second opinion on this junction? This map is not the newest. I think, can you take a look at this?
Yes, yeah, I'll gladly take a look at the map, yeah. So I think we need to take the left junction up here. So you see how this one leads down to the stream, but this one goes up onto the hill, and I think there's a small collection of steadings up there, so that might be a good place to settle down and have some lunch.
Oh, I do like some lunch.
Yeah, so Constance will start leading us all up the left fork, which goes up the hill, and so it's getting into more like heathery kind of vegetation around here. There's small like copses of trees around, and you can see as you go up the hill, the other fork indeed does go down to a small stream. Both roads kind of do end up going parallel for quite a while. It's just this one is further up on the hill. And as we crest the hill, we get to a small collection of farmsteadings. And there are a few people around. They've got like vegetable patches around their houses. A few bumblebees are kind of buzzing around. And you can see in front of one of the houses, there is a dormouse who is doing a little bit of knitting on the front doorstep.
Borkins will kind of be eyeing up the farms and the homesteads. Not intentionally suspiciously, but giving his reputation probably quite suspiciously.
Hermes is going to pause by the dormouse knitting and kind of peer over his huge glasses on his face and say, interesting. Furtive, dulcet, find me the thing. The little gods start whirring around the chair and rummaging through all the drawers. Although, well, you're not sure if Furtive is doing so because Hermes talks to Furtive a lot, but you're not entirely sure you've ever seen or heard him in any way whatsoever. But after a while, Dulcet kind of pipes up with a and one of the drawers kind of clicks a little further open. Hermes reaches back and looks around, kind of turns a piece of paper upside down a few times and says, "Oh, yes, here you go," and holds out to the dormouse what seems to be a very odd knitting pattern for making a piece of clothing that probably would not really fit anyone. We talked about mixing this with cosmic horror. The angles are wrong on this knitting, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the dormouse is going to take the knitting pattern and kind of look at it strangely, and then put it upside down, and then look at it even more strangely, and just say, "Oh, thank you, kind sir."
I know what that's for. I do. I've seen one only once. Mine, the very, very rare. It has 12 inflatable appendages that only come out when it's mating season. Other than that, it is purely a worm. Just a worm. But then it has these 15 incredible appendages. They're beautiful. No.
Worm?
No.
Where?
Hermes. No. Do not. The specimens. How many times do we need to talk about this? Anyway, yes, a very useful pattern if you were to ever find one. They do suffer in winter, which is probably why somebody created that at some point.
Okay, well, you see this dormouse just getting increasingly more confused, looking between you and the knitting pattern, but then is going to just say, "Well, thank you, kind travellers. You look weary. Would you like to come in for a bite to eat? I think that my husband has just finished making soup."
Oh, soup.
And she's going to invite you all in. And as you go in, you can see just off to the side, it's not a massive kitchen. They're dormice, but you can see like the Arga in the corner, and there's a small dining table which has space for 6 people. with small stools around. And yes, there is another dormouse who is in front of the Argus stirring a large pot. He is quite short, so he's got a little like standing stool that he stood on, and he's stirring this very large pot of soup with a long wooden spoon. And he's going to turn around. Oh, Maeve, we have guests. Please introduce yourselves. I'm Florian, and this is my wife, Maeve.
From the corner of the room where Hermes has already kind of tucked in his bath chair, as soon as the introductions are made, a noise will start. At first, it sounds like something terribly wrong has happened. Kind of reality tearing apart. Hey, we're going cosmic horror again. Before you all realize, as it comes down in tone, that Hermes is sat in his bath chair with his head tipped back on the top of it, just going. I am going to take a token, which for me are grapes, for pausing for a moment and getting some rest.
Well, excellent.
I will. I must apologise for our travelling companion Hermes. There, the year's way long on him sometimes. I'm Borkins, lately of Stripe Hill Town, and these are my travelling companions who you've both met already, Constance and Tio.
And then I'm also going to almost pull from thin air, pull hemp out from behind me, because they've been hiding behind my coat. They are kind of nervous around new people, but as soon as they realise that they're of no harm and there's food involved, they'll perk up a little bit. So yeah, Florian is going to start ladling out some soup into some wooden bowls, and start offering it to people. Homemade leek and potato. I just picked the leeks this morning. We're getting a nice, decent harvest in this year. I'm quite proud of it. And is just going to start offering soup to people who have it.
Borkins will definitely take a bowl, pretty eager to get stuck in. Not that we've been travelling some hours, so it's probably about mid-afternoon now, I'd say.
Obviously, Hermes is asleep, but from experience of knowing him, you are well aware that if you want to tuck a bowl of soup into one of the drawers of his chair, he'll get to it later at some point.
Yep. Tio has dropped his tome on the floor and is now propped up, sitting on it, and crosses his legs elegantly and sort of takes a bowl of soup and is like, "Oh, thank you very much. This will go down nicely with And he just he reaches into a bag and takes out something that looks suspiciously like dried caterpillars. Let's be real. Just sprinkles them on the soup and goes, "It's very good. Thank you."
Oh, you have leeks very early in the season. What good? Must have good ground up here.
Oh, excellent! Yes, we actually it's from the heather. It does really well. But we also a friend of ours has got a very large beetle who has helped us move some soil from down in the valley. There's some volcanic soil or something down there. It makes excellent vegetables. Our potatoes are really stupendous this year, and last year's harvest was fantastic as well. We actually still have some.
Fascinating. You see the benefits of going off the main road, friends. I told you, always better to take the high roads rather than just sticking with the coach traffic.
Hemp is already on that third bowl of soup or something. And they're going to keep eating until someone tells them to stop.
I'll give him hemp. You can't eat all of their food. They need some as well.
But beware, or the lintel will be lost forever. Oh.
Okay. And Constance is probably going to go off and like sit with Maeve for a little while, because she also does some knitting. So is going to pull out her own knitting and start just like click-clacking away in the corner.
Where do you think we should spend the night then, Constance? What does the map say?
So it looks like there is a small inn if we continue along this road. It's maybe only a couple of hours, at which point Florian pipes up. Oh, yes, our friend actually operates that inn. So if you ask for Lyra and tell her that Florian sent you, she'll put you up in a good room.
What fortuitous occurrence. Amazing. What's the town's name?
Well, it's not a town. It's just a small inn. So it's on a crossroads. So the inn is called River Hill. It's the River Hill Inn, and it's just on the crossroads, about 2 hours down the road. It's mostly downhill, so it shouldn't take you that long to get to.
Perfect. Is there any materials we can run down to them for you? You can take them a bag of potatoes if you don't want to carry them yourself.
Now that you mention it, yes, yeah, we could definitely do with you transporting a few of our wares down there. I'll go and grab something for you. And Florian's going to go out to the shed and comes back with like 3 or 4 bags of vegetables. So there's potatoes, leeks, a few onions, and then a smaller bag that's got some garlic in.
We will see these delivered.
Marbles everywhere.
So at this point, Constance is going to come up and just like gently shake Hermes, just saying, "It's time to go, Hermes. We need to get there before it starts getting dark."
Oh, I don't know why you're telling me. Where's this soup?
So, in front of you sits a very cold bowl of soup. And Maeve is probably going to say, "Oh, well, we can get you some more if you would like it warm."
Oh, no, thank you. I will warm it up later. He kind of picks it up and slops it slightly over his feathers and passes it backwards where the gods kind of flitter around it, place it in a drawer, and kind of close it. And after a couple of minutes, some steam starts oddly rising from inside it.
It's a fascinating contraption you have there. So Maeve is going to like go around to the back of this chair and just like peer at the drawers, just trying to work out what on earth is going on in it.
Oh, the chair is perfectly normal. I think you'll find it's the things that live in places that make them, not the places themselves.
How interesting. So
that's one for your book, Theo.
Yeah, I think Theo is currently suffering from some indigestion because he ate a bit too ravenously, and he's just looking forward to getting out of the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hemp is probably in a similar situation. Where they're now actually quite sleepy after eating all of that soup. But I think, yeah, at this point, now that we've got the things to deliver, Constance is going to like say goodbyes to Florian and Maeve, and start directing us all down the road.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Can conclude with that. Borkins will be carrying a bag of vegetables. It's probably a little bit too big for him. He's not a massive creature.
I imagine that Hemp, what with being sleepy, is catching a ride on Tio's like tome as it drags behind him, and is just on it like a sled.
Yeah. So Hemp's enjoying that and is just kind of gripping on to the front of the book, but just like mostly curled up with their head just like resting on their paws.
So I think the weather as we're going further is just really it's got really nice actually. It's now a beautiful kind of early spring day, and I think in the distance we can probably hear the sound of the eponymous stream that forms the kind of stream hill, and Borkins kind of calls everyone over and goes, "Hey, look at this! Look!" And finds just kind of poking out of the undergrowth, but almost completely encased by it, an old kind of temple shrine, a little piece of carved stone to what seems to be like a bunch of grapes almost. And all the details have faded right the way off it. And goes, "So, what do you make of this, Hermes? You are the expert in the old gods."
Hermes will move himself up closer and kind of peer at the ancient shrine. He digs not in a drawer, almost always on his person, like tucked down the side of his chair. He digs out a large kind of bound handbook, which has a cover of kind of almost like a purple velvety-ish material, which he creaks open and kind of like looks up and looks at the shrine and takes a look at you and then kind of like and starts leafing his way through it. You are aware that this is the handbook that he's a very, very dear possession of his, written by a poetic writer he once loved, and it attempts to name all the gods, and in your experience, badly. And he kind of looks up and kind of looks over and says, "Grapes, and where are we?"
I think this is close to, what was the name of the
River Hill Inn.
River Hill Inn. So this must be River Hill then.
Yes,
I would explain why I can hear water.
Yes, yeah. So just west of River Hill.
Well, I seem to think that this may be some kind of vultuperous gathering of spirits rather than perhaps a single god itself. Spirits of the vine and the earth, perhaps even why they have such good soil here. But it does seem to have a lack of tending, doesn't it?
At that, Borkins will kind of take a little coin out of his purse. It's not like it's not a currency coin. It's more kind of an ornamental thing, and kind of leaves it on the little kind of flat area of the thing that's kind of used for offerings. And he'll as he's doing that, he'll go, "There's a little path here. Shall we? Let's just go for a quick detour. Who wants a quick detour?"
Well, I did just see a very interesting mallow skipper flying up there. So yes, of course, I might be able to catch it. Let's go quickly. And Tira rushes off.
Hemp will have recovered from their massive meal at this point. It is going to go skipping down the little. It's probably like a game trail or something. Is going to go skipping down that.
Always go down the paths that the gods leave open for you. Borkins, it looks a little cluttered down there. Could you tend to me, please?
Borkins was about ready to disappear down the snicket, down the Bohreen, but comes back and helps Hermes with the maneuvering the bath chair down this little path.
As always, you are now thoroughly an expert at this, but also, as always, Hermes is constantly saying things like, "Steady! To the left!
I'm in peril!" So the sound of the river gets much louder kind of shortly after the trees providing some kind of acoustic break, and you find yourself in an absolutely gorgeous tiny little glade that seems entirely teeming with life. a little glen teeming with life. It's just lovely. And Borkins takes one look at this and says, "My friends, we've only been walking a short while from the farm, but I intend to have a quick sit down. I hope you'll join me."
I think that sounds lovely. This is a really beautiful area. And Hemp is going to be like chasing a butterfly, just like round and round the glade, just going in circles. So yeah, Constance is just going to...
Tia will be cheering Hemp on, going, "Go for it, go for it, get it, quick. I might be able to put it in my book. Hurry."
Hermes has moved himself over to near. I think we mentioned a river, right? Or a little stream at least.
It's a loud stream.
Sure, let's go with that. And I would like the stream to be continuing through this place so that when I take the map, I can do a thing. Mm-hmm. So the stream kind of goes through and on past, and Hermes has kind of moved himself over nearby it, and he's kind of pausing and looking, peering over at some bushes near the river. And on the leaves of that bush is resting like a tiny little grasshopper, and he's kind of leaning over and peering and sort of adjusting his glasses, which have extra lenses he can flick over and like tweak to get a better look. And he's just there kind of talking to himself, saying, imagine being so small and yet being able to jump so high, but never really jumping away from where you are or jumping towards anything. Terribly sad. He kind of leans back and sort of rubs his glasses. And I think I will take a token for taking a moment to watch a tiny moment of beauty and describing it to the table.
Yeah, that's true. You also, I was about to award your token because we are in a glen, and you just trip to the glen special thing where you meet an unusual bug and are kind, or at least not immediately eating it.
Oh, I'll take 2 tokens. Yeah, I'm going to have so many grapes to eat at the end of this.
Yeah, the person with the most tokens at the end wins. That's how you win Wanderhome.
Yeah, that's how you win Wanderhome.
I'm also taking a token because I suggested a rest. Today's token will be a tiny friend. That's I think it's a coffee bean. But after a period of just kind of rest in this area, a kind of silence comes over the group, and you start to notice there are little things, like little fluffy balls floating around the place, and they have like little tiny faces on them, and they seem to be kind of moving around and bumping into each other. And if you listen, as these things kind of emerge and start to take over the glen, you can hear them kind of making a little kind of noises. These are definitely kind of wild spirits of some description. A very rare sight to behold, but also you can imagine them, if someone wanted to depict them all clumped together, it would look a bit like a bunch of grapes.
No need for alarm. No need for alarm. Furtive says they're friendly.
They are definitely quite friendly. It also kind of strangely makes you quite sleepy as well. And you can look across, and Borkins is already taking a little bit of a nap.
Tio is what was attempting to forage around in his pockets for some kind of vial or something to capture one and put one in his vial, but falls asleep before he can. He's like, got it. Never mind.
Yeah, I think after having a little sit down, Constance is now just sitting by the edge of the stream, watching Hemp kind of paddle in the shallow waters. And there are some like little minnows swimming amongst the like stream grasses. And yeah, Hemp's just trying to like poke at them.
Yeah, so Tio, when he falls asleep, he has a dream, and he usually has a dream where he's chasing a fallen star, and it's always getting further and further away from him. Oh. But this time he sort of like he sees the light in the distance, and he sees, rather than just that one pinpoint of light that he's chasing, he sees like thousands of like other pinpoints of light that look slightly kind of like moths just like spiraling towards the fallen star. And he doesn't really feel the need to chase after it quite as like energetically and desperately as he usually does, and he sleeps quite peacefully.
So everyone kind of wakes up a little later. It's been a very short and restful nap. Holly, Constance, you find your ward whose name keeps escaping me, and then I remember it again. Hemp. You find Hemp kind of curled up next to you, and kind of everyone rises at the same time. So who didn't leave an offering on the thing? I think it was I was the only one who put a little offering out there.
I think so, yeah.
So I think everyone's going to find that one tiny item. Well, maybe Hermes, you might not because you have so many tiny items. But everyone will find that one tiny item has been stolen, and there's no evidence of the floaty friends anymore.
Well, of course, mythologically speaking, falling asleep in some kind of sacred glen occupied by spirits, certainly a preliminary act at best, and if not downright unconscionable. So these things are to be expected.
Tio looks down at his, like, he's got an Argyle sweater vest, but he's got like a shirt underneath, and he looks down at his shirt and he goes, his top button is just missing, and he's like, where did that go? Oh dear, how unrefined. And I shall have to go the rest of the day looking sloppy.
And Borkins, you look down as you feel a tug on the sleeve of your jacket, and you just see Hemp looking up at you really wide-eyed, just going, Mr. Borkins, I lost the card that you gave me. And is just looking really like sheepish and nervous.
What you mean? You mean this card? He'll bring out. So I will have been aware of what card I gave him, and I will probably have a spare for magic tricks.
Yeah. Okay. And then just like puts the hands out and takes it from you. Thank you very much.
I don't suppose you could do that for buttons too.
I'm a card player, not a button player. I'm going to spend my token there because I provided a solution for a material or immediate problem, and that is that Hemp was slightly sad, which is as close as we get to a critical moment in Wanderhome.
Absolutely. Hermes is kind of looking around a little bit and kind of looks over at Constance, and I have a bit of an out-of-character proposal here, but Hermes is going to say, Mistress Bear, may I look at that map for a moment? What? So I have a proposal here because I know, Holly, that you had like the inn and we were going to like go there. But here's the thing: I have a location and it has a tavern, but I didn't really think about the tavern. So shall we make the tavern the same?
Absolutely fine with me. Yeah,
you can do the inn stuff, and I'll talk about the stuff around the inn. How about that? How's that sound? Great.
Sure. Sounds good.
So after recovering from this spiritual thievery, we, friendly fashion, we make our way out from this glen that we found ourselves in, find ourselves back onto the path, which the stream seems to flow loudly and noisily and raucously towards, and then as we find ourselves on this road through, I think we talked about kind of gently undulating hills in these homesteads and in this landscape, we find ourselves emerging out as the stream meets a large river, and that river in turn flows to a lake. We find ourselves in the small little settlement tucked in a large valley framed with rolling hills. We find ourselves in the settlement of Abbot's Water, where there's a very large lake, very still lake with a sandy coastline, and on the edge of it is a few dotted houses, a tavern or an inn, the one we're taking the vegetables to, and just up from those on the very coast of the lake is a large white stone monastery that as we get closer to the settlement we can see is obviously still occupied. There are a lot of monks wandering around it, mostly ferrets, although there's a fair scattering of other different kinds of animal. Yeah, and I guess we're making our way to the inn first, because that seems to...
Yeah, sure. So as we're heading towards the River Hill Inn in Abbotsville, the sun is kind of just edging below the side of this mountain that Matt just described, and is kind of casting a golden glow across the valley, and it's glinting off the water. So there's a slight breeze which is making the water kind of ripple slightly, and it's casting lots of like shining lights along the opposite bank. And as we approach the inn, there are some lights on inside, and you can also hear, as we get closer to it, the sound of a fiddle being played. So it's a slightly upbeat tune, but yeah, it gets louder as we approach. And then as Constance opens up the large mahogany door with like brass inlay, opens it up to a very warm, very like cozy atmosphere. There's quite a large fireplace over to one side, and then just in front of it, sitting on a like reasonably tall stool, is a frog playing a fiddle. And around it, a few other animals. So there's a squirrel who's sitting in an armchair, just kind of tapping their foot to the beat. And then there's a small bar as well. So at the bar, there's a field mouse and a rabbit who are in like the midst of a conversation. Like they're pointing towards a map that's on the table, and they're obviously in depth with this discussion. So as we all come in, you see behind the bar a mole pops up from behind the bar, who's got quite thick glasses perched on the end of their nose. And is going to come in, have a seat.
Can the bar be lit behind can the area behind the bar literally be full of soil?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what I meant by pop up. Yeah. So yeah, there is a grassy area behind the bar, out of which this mole pops. And is inviting everyone to take a seat. And what can I get you? We have some excellent ale on tap. We have some cordial for the younger one. What would you like?
Well, good barkeep. It's more a question of what we have brought for you. We bring vegetables from the High Hill Farm. And swings the big pack.
Fantastic. So the mole's going to bustle over and take the bags from you, and just say, yeah, Lyra will be really pleased with this. She's our cook, and she's been just saying that we're short on potatoes. So this is a great help. Thank you very much.
We hear these potatoes are famed, at least in the valley.
Oh, yes. Well, from those steadings up on the hill have some really fantastic soil. I actually had to go up there and have a look at it after I saw their produce. And it's really fantastic stuff.
Well,
I may have got a little bit overexcited and got my nose in, but can't be helped.
might have something to do with those thieving little spirits.
Oh,
I tell you.
Did you visit the shrine up on the hill?
Yes. I believe that was the one.
Yes, yeah. A lot of travellers that pass through there find that they have some missing items, but if it means that we get excellent produce, then I'm not one to complain about the spirits. My old mum said that it brings you bad luck.
Can I throw a suggestion to the table at this point? Chris, have you got an instrument there? It'd be easy and not horribly intrusive for you to play. A flute or some such.
I can, yes, there's one right here. It's just going to be, it's not going to come across very well. It's because there's no balancing of the body.
Sure, we'll say if it's immediately like, oh God, like pins us to the wall or something. But like, I would like the music in the tavern, and I'm going to, do I have to spend a token for like just making random changes?
I don't think so, actually, unless you're solutioning a problem.
I'm not really. I would like a tune, a very popular local tune, to start being played by the frog and anyone else accompanying the frog. The tune is called "The Night the Old King Drank Here,"
Okay.
and I'd like Chris to give us a rendition of it, which will probably be an Irish folk standard rather than an entirely new tune by Chris.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
In the meantime, Theo has slammed his tome down onto the table, and has caught the I believe it was it a rabbit and another.
Yeah,
creature?
so there's I think it was a rabbit and a field mouse at the bar who were deep in conversation over this map.
So when Theo slams the tome down onto the bar, it reverberates and gives everyone a huge fright. Everyone's very startled.
Yeah, so they both almost fall off their bar stools. So these two animals are quite old. So both of their whiskers are like drooping slightly. The rabbit's ears, like one of them is slightly lopsided, and they've got like white fur around their faces. And there's, good Lord, that's a huge tome that you have. What on earth could it be filled with?
Well, it's my life's work, and the life's work of my mentor. It is filled with the most interesting and insightful comments on natural history, and more specifically moths.
Let's have Chris start this and see if we can backdrop the scene.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Do we think that's too loud?
It's wonderful. I can still hear everything fine.
I can as well. Let's go.
Yeah. So the field mouse and the rabbit are going to start, like, if you let them, they're going to start leafing through this tome.
Oh, of course. Theo loves anybody to look at his thesis, because not many people usually want to. He goes, oh, stop there. That's a wonderful section on clearly a very interesting kind of moth. They have wings that are transparent, and as such, they mimic the wasp, and that is it serves them some protection. The wasp has been quite fearsome. Very, very interesting.
Wait, which king?
What king? I was talking about moth.
Which old king drank here?
So Constance is probably gonna at this point go up to the frog that's playing, and just as soon as the song starts tailing off, is going to like tap them on the shoulder and say, My friend has got some questions about the song that you were just singing. Do you know the origin of this king? I don't believe I've heard of any royalty around here.
Oh, it's very old. I think I'm going to take the frog unless there's
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
It's very old. It's long before, certainly before the war, and long before the country's here. And there's many stories about him. Some say they were the one who built the monastery. Some say they were the one who laid the roads, and some say they were the one who built the shrines on the hills to the tiny gods. They probably drank here because there's nowhere else to drink for miles.
Would there have been an inn here if there were no roads?
I'm just a musician, not a civic architect, sir.
That's a very reasonable and cruciduous response.
That's why they call me the cruciduous toad.
And starts playing the cruciduous toad. That famous
Cruciduous toad. So the rabbit, having gone through Tio's tome, is going to start pointing towards various small, more rare bugs. Just go, I think I remember seeing those when I was a lad. Just down by the stream, we get some really fascinating bugs down there. There was a
Tio literally just grabs him by the paw and is like, "Oh, do go on."
Okay, so the rabbit and the field mouse are just going to start conversing wildly with Tio about the various wildlife in the area, pointing out what they used to be
making notes and getting ink all over the bar, just splatting, writing, yes, okay, yes.
Yeah, and they're probably going to start talking about these iridescent water boatmen that they used to see on the shores of the stream, and that's probably going to go long into the evening as they continuously are supplied more ale to lubricate the conversation by Flint, the mole barman, who, when he realizes that we are going to need rooms, is going to gladly point out the location of the spare rooms that they have, which are just upstairs. So there's a room each for each traveller, and the beds are the coziest that you'll have ever stayed in at an inn. There are fluffy feather pillows and squishy mattresses.
Tio stops the mole movement and goes, I would prefer a burrow if there's one going.
Well, definitely. If you'll just follow me down to the basement, we have a few spare burrows down there as well.
Thank you very much. Drags his tome down there.
I think if we're spending the night in the inn, that's quite a good place for our first break, I think.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Cool. We'll be back in 10 minutes, friends. So grab a drink, a snack, take a bio, and we'll be back shortly.